Hello and welcome. I am Steve Clemens, editor-at-large of The Hill. Thank you for joining us for Revitalizing America's Cities, an in-depth discussion on micro-businesses and their impact on cities large and small. I'd like to thank our sponsor, GoDaddy, for its support of today's conversations. In the past year and a half, we've seen cities across the U.S. experience the economic fallout of COVID-19, and it's been tough in some places. While the pandemic exposed many weaknesses in our economy, it also uncovered new strengths. Many Americans started micro-businesses, which are online businesses with fewer than 10 employees. These new ventures helped them find a new avenue to economic mobility. As cities look to rebuild in a more inclusive and resilient manner, what role can these micro-businesses play? We're going to be turning to mayors from across the country to help us answer this question, as well as micro-business owners themselves. Before we get going, though, a few housekeeping notes. You can tweet us at The Hill Events using the hashtag #TheHillVentures. We're broadcasting live and we'll take your questions throughout the program. As with any live stream, you could experience a little trouble with the video, but refreshing the page should, in most cases, fix the problem. We're starting off the program with a message from our sponsor, GoDaddy. Please welcome Aman Bhutani, CEO of GoDaddy.
Steve, thank you, and it is wonderful to be back. I'm especially excited for such a diverse set of mayors on the panel today, collectively representing over 800,000 micro-businesses within their cities. Last September, I had the pleasure of being on this show with Steve and introducing the everyday entrepreneur, the incredible people behind the 20 million micro-businesses GoDaddy supports across the U.S. They are the focus of our Venture Forward study. The Venture Forward dataset is helping us understand this population in a way policymakers never have before. Because these micro-businesses are either too small or too new, most operate below the radar of traditional methods of economic tracking. And not only have they largely been hidden from view, but as we learn more about them, we see that they are very different from the small businesses we incorrectly group them with. 9 out of 10 of these micro-businesses have fewer than 10 employees. 5 out of 10 are solopreneurs. All are online, and 75% serve customers beyond their local communities. Through Venture Forward, micro-businesses can now be accurately studied: where they are, what is influencing their success, and what do they need. When I joined Steve, we were fast approaching one of the most challenging phases of the COVID-19 crisis. But these everyday entrepreneurs, even then, showed their optimism, creativity, and resilience in the face of what became a very long winter. Now, 9 months later, we can see just the kind of impact these micro-businesses had on our communities and our economy. Here's the quick answer. Micro-businesses helped our communities withstand the worst of the pandemic. And today, I am excited to share with you new data from millions of micro-businesses that shows the extent of the positive impact. More importantly, I will also share our lessons learned on how these small but incredibly mighty micro-businesses help protect our communities and can now build them back stronger. Let's take a look at the economic impact of micro-businesses. Even before the pandemic, we knew micro-businesses were making a positive impact in communities across the country. Adding one micro-business per 100 people to a community drives up median household income by about $500. In a typical community, 2 jobs are created for every entrepreneur running a micro-business. Those are impressive numbers. But then the pandemic hit, and we wondered what would happen to our beloved micro-businesses. The pandemic forced thousands of small businesses to close. These closures hit the low-income population especially hard, with unemployment amongst this group rising significantly. What helped mitigate the impact? Micro-businesses. During the pandemic, when we looked at communities that had a higher number of small businesses and a higher number of micro-businesses, low-income job loss dropped significantly. Why? Well, let's take a closer look at the data. Nationally, the Federal Reserve estimates that during the pandemic, there were an additional 200,000 small businesses that closed compared to the prior year. However, during that same period of time, there was a massive influx of new micro businesses created. In fact, we saw 2.8 million more micro businesses start up in 2020 than in 2019. What we witnessed during the pandemic was micro businesses stepping in where small businesses struggled, helping to alleviate some of its worst economic effects. Furthermore, in April 2020, every US city reported a decrease in credit and debit card spending. But beginning in May, cities with above average micro business activity began to show signs of strength through increased credit and debit card spending, while cities with below average micro business density continued to show declines in spending throughout the year. Micro businesses lowered the rate of low-income unemployment because they made local economies more resilient. They boosted consumer spending. They provided a path for brick-and-mortar small business to stay in business. And they provided an additional gateway for low-income earners to continue to participate in the economy. The data clearly shows that micro businesses are an important source of economic strength and resiliency. And after sharing this data with policymakers, we're often asked how cities can best support their growth. I grew up building software, and we knew if we did not make the technology user-friendly, it would never reach its full potential. The same can be said for how cities must approach supporting micro businesses. Keep your policies, funding, and programs as centered as possible on the real needs of micro businesses. So here are 4 things that you can do, reflecting what we have learned are the most important needs of micro businesses. And I will share with you how I remember them with the acronym USER, spelled U-S-E-R. The U is for understanding, because it all starts with understanding that micro businesses are not the same as small businesses. Their risk tolerance, capacity to comply with regulations, and size of revenue make them different. To get to the best outcome for these micro businesses, we need to understand that they are a unique economic force. The S in user is for skills. Broadband is table stakes for a healthy ecosystem of micro businesses. But to thrive, we need skills training in the form of access to low-cost curriculum, experts, mentors, and coaches. These skills turn broadband into broad-based, equitable economic activity. The E in user is for expenses, because micro businesses often need less than $5,000 for a few expenses to get started. Securing these small loans is among the top 3 biggest obstacles to starting a micro business. Why? Well, the level of bureaucracy required to secure a loan, even a small one, is too complex for most micro businesses to handle. And finally, the R is for resilient. Micro businesses are often about bringing the additional paycheck into the household, boost the income to pay for gas, groceries, or a much-needed vacation. We need to look beyond typical metrics of job creation and size of raw income dollars, and remember that the success of micro businesses is actually about the resilience they bring to our local communities. My goal today is to encourage all of us to be user-friendly to micro businesses. With a greater understanding of what micro businesses need to thrive, we can all do a better job of supporting them. As I close today, I want to share with you what GoDaddy is going to do to partner with cities as you seek to build back stronger. We are pledging our help to you in 3 areas. 1, we recently launched a new city portal on the Venture Forward website. On this portal, policymakers can get an immediate view of micro business change across their cities. With the city portal, we're lifting the veil on micro businesses and the impact they have on your local economy. 2, we have worked directly with over 40 cities to train thousands of everyday entrepreneurs, helping them launch their own micro business. Over the next 18 months, we expect to train an additional 10,000. And third, we want to do a public-private partnership between GoDaddy, NGOs, and local governments aimed at helping U.S. cities build back stronger from the pandemic. We will pilot this new program in 5 cities and bring digital training, entrepreneurial courses, access to funding, online tools, and dedicated support. The program was conceived based on hundreds of interactions with U.S. cities and our ongoing work with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. This is the beginning of what we hope will be a long partnership between GoDaddy and U.S. cities, making our communities more user-friendly for micro businesses. Please reach out to our team if we can be of help. We'd love to work with you. Steve, thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Aman. And I just want to highlight something very important in what we just heard. Micro businesses are almost like antibodies. They're almost like the things that enable a system to stay healthy, to stay nimble, to stay resilient. And they're not on a lot of radar screens because they're operating at a level so much. But these small micro businesses, which sometimes get, grouped into becoming small business, there's something else going on. And we're going to explore what that means.